Alright, there we go. Okay. Alright, I started it. So, if you want to start off with any opening gag or opening skit you had prepped, now would be the perfect time.
Beans.
I'm getting very sick of interviewing members of Generation Z. That's every single time I ask for an opening skit, it's just beans or another, like, 2-syllable word that's funny. Like,
you fool, I am not from Gen Z, I just have a bad sense of humor.
Quick birthday reveal right now, right here on the internet for all to see. Prove it.
See, there's the problem. I actually don't have it memorized. So I can't do that, unfortunately, even if I wanted to.
Were you alive at any point before SpongeBob had first released?
I don't know, I never watched SpongeBob.
Have you ever heard of a game called Majora's Mask?
Oh yeah, I want to play that game.
Were you alive when it came out?
I don't know what year it came out.
What was the first video game console you ever owned?
The Wii.
What was the first game you owned for the Wii? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Were you in school when you got the Wii?
I don't remember.
How? Were you alive when Undertale released?
When did Undertale release?
2016!
2016? Well, of course
You literally would have had to have... Damn it, I need to call you out on being Gen Z somehow. Wait a minute, I just realized I could have made this way easier on myself. Do you have a driver's license? Or do you have any kind of ID? I could have just started with that. I don't know why I'm using video games to calculate this.
It's such a flawed yet entertaining method.
I'm just gonna start this off, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi. I'm a person who makes shapes move in the popular game, Project Arrhythmia. That's what my resume is gonna look like.
Those are the only 3 bullet points on your resume. Everything else you did in your life was completely irrelevant. I mean...
Yeah. I make shapes move. I play video game.
No, I don't know how old I am. there's no birthday.
I don't know what year I was born.
I guess gonna go and start off the first question, and I feel like I already have a pretty decent idea as to where this is going, but what do you do outside of this? Like, whenever you're not working on, like, PA levels, do you do anything else?
What I mostly have been working on recently is digital art and animation outside of Project Arrhythmia. My end goal is just to be able to animate. I kind of want to be something to do as like a career or whatever. So that's mainly what I've been doing, just practicing art because that's hard.
PA gives you a lot of good experience with tweening and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, it's a good like way to learn animation without having to learn art.
I mostly had this be the first question because normally my process for gathering these questions is quote-unquote cyber-stalking people, and I can't find literally any of your other social media, so I just assume you don't have any.
I don't.
Nah, that's fair.
I just don't. Yeah, I should probably make one at some point, but I've been avoiding it because I feel like it's just going to be a distraction.
What got you into PA, like, first of all? When did you first get introduced to the game and stuff?
What happened was I went down a YouTube rabbit hole. Of course, connected to Just Shapes and Beats, because that's how it is with everyone, apparently.
Pretty much,
but
yeah.
I found that one animation, the cat one by Topaz, you know?
Oh yeah, actually, I think that might have been the same, that's the same rabbit hole I went down to get to PA.
Yeah. I saw that, then I saw Just Shapes and Beats, then that led me to Funkel, which led me to Project Arrhythmia. Although, funnily enough, I actually remember seeing the game before that, just on the Steam store page. And I remember looking over the page and thinking, that's kind of neat, and then forgetting about it. Play like Gary's Mod or something like that.
No disrespect to Gary's Mod, it's a fun time with friends.
It's a time sink though. You play the game, you're like, oh, this is fun. You hang out with some people, play it, whatever, and then you look at the hours and then you realize how much of a mistake you've made.
The closest I've gotten to Gary's Mod nowadays is just playing Ultra Kill, because like the sandbox map is just from Gary's Mod.
Yeah.
Once you actually did find out about PA and stuff like that, what made you want to get into level making?
Well, I just saw the levels and thought, wait, they were cool. That's really it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'd always been a fan of like boss fights in video games, and I was like, oh, boss fight that follows music, that sounds awesome. And then I saw some levels, and I'm like, oh, those look awesome. So then I was like, I want to make that. And then I failed miserably trying to make that for like 200, 300 hours.
And then only during the last 80 did you actually start getting good at it.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's the level making curve, more or less.
Yeah. Trial and error until you figure out like one thing and then start doing it like, oh, it's working. It's crazy.
I had a very similar experience. Wanted to make a song using Final Boss and sort of just extend the JSAB level to be the entire song instead of just half of it. And then, of course, you can't use Monster Cat music, and so I was disappointed. Nowadays, I think more people are starting to encourage like making normal levels instead of boss levels.
Yeah,
It's a bit of
and I mean, there's some like there's that one level. Was it? I forget what the level was called, but it has like no event keyframes in it, and it's all just squares or whatever. It's on like a grid. That's a pretty creative one where it's just like the bare minimum, you could say.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
It uses like only instant keyframes or something like that.
Yeah, no, that one's pretty fun. I think boss fights were the hook for a lot of people just because they're a very interesting way of being able to hit the player or whatever. Funny shapes move.
And I mean, also, nice animation looks good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the shapes move nicely, make brain happy.
What do you like/dislike about the actual PA editor itself whenever going to use it?
Well, we'll start with the dislikes because I'm more aware of those. Why do we only have 30 or 40 layers? Just more layers would be amazing. Because then we could like make larger models and stuff without having to worry about leaving room for backgrounds and attacks. But on the bright side, this is gonna be kind of dumb because I didn't know you could do this. But you know how when you have an object, there's a little icon, it's like the 3 dots?
Yeah.
You click it, it like collapses the object, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing for like the first, I don't know, third of my working with the editor.
Oh boy.
And all of my models were just uncollapsed like messes. So when I figured out that you could collapse them, it was like pure bliss. It was amazing.
Finally, the timeline can fit more things.
Exactly. I don't have to reserve an entire layer for the boss model. So that's something I like about the editor, although that's kind of dumb because I didn't know that was a thing for a long period of time. And I think one of the main things that annoys me with the editor is just when you make a model, every single object needs to be on the timeline, and it gets really messy. So it would be like really cool if you had a system where you could make a piece for a model and then prefab that and collapse it onto one thing, but then have that prefabbed like group of objects act as one object. Then you can make like massive models without losing all your space in the timeline. That's kind of like not a huge problem because like not everyone's making huge boss models or whatever, like complex scenery or whatever, but for the people who are, it would be a nice sort of thing.
How would you describe your style in PA and what inspired it?
Like visually or
Visually.
animation based or just in general?
I mean visually, sort of, because I will say that your style is definitely very visually distinct.
I'd say when it comes to visuals and models, like there's not a specific like artist or other creator style which I work off of or am more inspired by. I more just kind of go with it. Earlier, when I would make models, like for my older levels, I just kind of threw shapes together until it looked like something. I'm like, oh, that kind of looks cool, and then use that, you know? But nowadays, more if I'm making something, sometimes I'll sketch it out beforehand and then just use real life objects for reference. Like if I want to make a robot, then I'll look at like, all right, what does a factory robot look like? Or I don't know. And then use that for reference and then maybe add a little more cartooniness to it because I don't want to do perfect lighting for every single model because that's a pain and we don't have the layers for that.
Your inspiration is Google Images. You just type...
Exactly, yeah. I'll have like Chrome open in the background while editing. I'll minimize the window for PA, like, all right, yeah, okay, so the bolt would go here and this is how this reflects.
Yeah,
all right,
that's
awesome.
When you're actually going through making levels, what sort of process do you follow for it? Do you go in with a plan or do you just sort of just make stuff up after you hear a song?
Well, it depends. Sometimes I'll hear a song and then I'll just listen to it for like an hour or two and just plan the entire thing in my head. And then from there, I'll make the level file and set up markers for each like major point. Like this would be the first drop, and then a marker here. This is the second drop. This is the build up, whatever. And then from there, I'd start preparing the theme and the models. Like the main boss model, I'll model that before I start working on the level, ideally. Stuff like that. But then sometimes I'll just hear a song and I'll hear one specific part of the song that I think sounds cool and just be like, oh, I should make a level with that. And then I'll start working on it and never finish it because I didn't think anything through. So it kind of depends.
That's how you end up with like an entire folder of unfinished levels because you only thought of the one section.
Although there are times where it's not even the song, it's just I have a cool like boss idea or like one cool attack idea or something. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, I could do this cool attack inspired from this game here that would look pretty neat if I did that. I should find a spot to put that. Maybe I should make an entire level just because I want to use this one attack.
The one reason you made a 4-minute animation and it's over in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much. The first level I published used, well, it's gone now. I got rid of it very quickly.
Oh.
It used Wicked, I believe, by Avenza, I think.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was really bad. It was the whole idea I had for the level. Keep in mind, this was like the first level I made, and this was before I actually spent time to get good at the editor, so it was really bad. Basically, the whole level, it was just prefab spam, but it wasn't normal prefab spam. My idea was I would make the boss attacks, and then I'd turn the boss attacks into prefabs, and then use those. So it was prefab spam, but the boss was the prefab spam.
It's advanced prefab spam.
Exactly. And it was really bad. I had attacks. It was mainly inspired off of the Nightmare King Grimm fight from Hollow Knight.
Oh, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, where you just kind of like disappears and then appears, does an attack, disappears, appears, does a different attack. That's basically what the level was, and all the attacks were like prefabs. And it wasn't like cool where I had it like randomized so it could be like a different attack each time. No, I just like picked one and just pressed the key a couple times and then picked another one. So that was technically my first level, but about a month or two after I published that, I realized, wait a minute, I want to create good levels. And then I saw it, I'm like, oh, we should hide that, get rid of it. I don't want to look at it. I have no records of it, no screenshots, no like record, nothing. As far as I'm aware, I am the only one who knows of its existence.
It's unfortunate. It's been lost to time, unfortunately.
Exactly, for the better. Like, other people may know from word of mouth that it exists, but they'll never truly know what it was, which makes me happy.
Well, now what am I going to use as B-roll for this segment? Think about my sake. I have to edit this.
You don't want to have to edit it in. It would be too much trauma just looking through it. It's like, you make a list of all the mistakes you can make with level editing. Like, if that list, like, let's say 10 things, I knocked off at least 7.
Am I just gonna take that one clip that I think you made of you having to go through, like, waves thing that you made and just slow it down so that it takes up the entire segment?
Oh, I spent multiple hours on that, and it didn't even look good in the end. That was both an editor issue and a layer issue.
Skill issue.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's part of it. It just compounds on top of itself, and then you can never forget about it. And then if you do, someone mentions it, and then you're reminded hauntingly of that wave that you animated that one time for no apparent reason.
It becomes your greatest fear that one day when you'll have actually made it, someone's going to bring it up and it'll send you spiraling back down to where you once were.
Yeah, so technically Wicked was my first level, but we pretend it's not. So my first level's Animal, the one by Temanite. I actually don't think it's too bad for a first level. It was just kind of like a basic, like, you know, the classic overused depressed character is all broody and evil and all that stuff. But I think for like a first level, it's good enough. The animation's not great, but the attacks are there, and there's just a little bit of prefab spam, but not too much prefab spam.
A little bit of prefab spam is good, but if it's the entire level...
Although, there's also the polar opposite that I have unfortunately begun adopting, which is just not using prefabs.
Oh no.
It happened with Spooky Jack, and part of why it took so long to make. I just don't use prefabs at all, and I try to minimize using randomization for attacks, like completely, just don't use it. It can look cool, and you can have more controlled environment, but also not worth the time sink.
It's all pre-planned. You have to make new things every second.
Exactly. I was literally just copying the objects for the attacks, and then copying the keyframes where I wanted the attack to be, so that I could...
Believe me, I'm familiar with how bad it gets.
It's just part of working with the editor, though. You gotta be prepared to either make just like a couple levels, not be happy with them, or give up, or just spend all your free time making one level just because you think it'll look cool.
When you were actually, I guess, going through the process of getting better, or I guess the last 80 hours that you spent as a creator, what actually helped you to grow?
A big thing was, well, there's a couple things. First thing is reference animations given by other creators, like just looking at how the keyframes are used. For example, I didn't use outcirc a lot, or just circ in general. I never ended up using it, just use insign, outsign, all those. And when I looked at an animation, it was probably one of OL's test animations that they put out or whatever, and I saw the usage of like Cirque. I'm like, oh, this looks great. I'm like, oh, that's how you get like a movement that holds longer. And then that's where I discovered the value of Cirque, right?
The end of the learning curve is using Cirque, finding out how to use
Yeah,
Cirque.
seriously. As soon as you start knowing how to use Cirque, it goes uphill. That and studying the principles of animation. That's a huge thing. At least for me, it was like I just researched like hours of just researching like what's the principles of animation, what's good things to keep in mind, like working with Project Arrhythmia. It can make such a huge difference if you just add an arc to a motion, right? Just like slap two parent objects on a hand instead of having it just go straight towards the location, just add a bit of an arc to it, stuff like that.
Have you had any experience with animation before this point, or is PA really your first time actually getting into it?
Yeah, it was my first time getting into it. Before Project Arrhythmia, like I hated doing any sort of art or anything. And when I started doing it, my animation was abysmal, like really bad.
12 Principles of Animation carries you like incredibly far in the community once you figure it out, like seriously.
Yeah, you don't even need to like memorize them all, just have the general ideas known, right?
Yeah, no kidding. One level I wanted to call attention to for no reason was UGG, I think, or like UGG Remix.
Oh yeah.
Did you make the song? Be honest with me.
No, I didn't make the song. Someone was like, hey, this artist was verified. They have the same name as you. Make a level out of their song. I was like, all right. So I just did. And that's how that happened. And I'm pretty sure I clarify at the end of the level that it wasn't, that I didn't make it. But yeah, it was just like, someone was just like, hey, check it out. They got the same name as you. You should make a level. I was like, all right. And then that existed.
If I may give a slight point of criticism, it was perhaps a bit hard to see that you clarified it there, because the entire level gave me several seizures.
Okay, yeah. If you look at any of the old levels, actually some of my current levels as well, there is a little bit of a seizure problem. But it's okay. I'm getting better. It's fine. Future levels won't be as seizure-inducing. Don't worry about it.
Actually, it's okay because PA has a seizure warning before you even open it, so technically it's your fault if you get a seizure.
Technically, yes, but when we're talking about it from a gameplay standpoint, being able to see the gameplay would probably be a good thing.
Imagine Toho, but they set the bloom up to, like, ridiculously high levels.
Crank bloom, gray and zero, throw it on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Simultaneously a good thing and a sad thing that gray and zero isn't in the new editor. Because
I mean, it can be in the new editor if you hack it in by going into the game files.
Yeah, but can't you not? I believe you can't like upload hacked stuff from levels.
Oh, wait.
Or unless it's different, I don't know.
I mean, it's not technically being hacked, it's just changing the data of the file.
Yeah, like manually changing the value.
Can it detect if you're doing that?
No, I don't think so, because it's just like in a... Is it in like a JSON file or something? I don't remember. But...
You can just read it as like a text file or whatever and then just manually change it from there, I think. I know that because I've seen people who've gotten, like, objects to be on top of the player. And
yeah, but I don't know if that works, the layering thing anyways. I don't know if it works when publishing a level, unfortunately. But if it does work, then oh boy, I'm going to be taking advantage of that. I got multiple ideas that would require stuff layered over the player, and I don't know why it's not an option.
There are so many dumb ideas that are, like, I'm not sure would be a good fit for the game because I think it would be going too far, like... I want to have a blue soul mode for no other reason than recreating Megalovania, aka platformer mode.
Yeah, although there would be some pretty cool levels if you had, like, gravity.
I mean, like, Geometry Dash can have, like, transformations and stuff like that.
Yeah, this game's...
This justifies installing an entirely new game mode.
Exactly. Comparing this game to Geometry Dash isn't going to get anyone angry.
I mean, after all, this game is much more like a JSAB, right?
Oh no.
You know what? I'll take on the comment section. I doubt any of them can actually legally drive, so it's fine.
Yeah, fair.
I believe your most recent level is actually Spooky Jack, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to talk about it? Anything interesting happened with the development of it, or anything special about it?
Well, there's a couple things. A lot of the memories to do with this level are memories of pain and suffering, as I'm sure you can imagine. But the main thing being, I spent over a year on it, and it's like 2 minutes long, which is not good time management at all. And the gameplay is kind of really bad. I know that, but also I think it looks cool, so I'm just going to ignore the fact that the gameplay is not that good.
I know that it's flawed, but I'm willing to accept it as flawed because I don't want to work on it.
Less accept it, more ignore the flaws and hide them underneath the shapes move in a cool way. That makes me happy.
Don't worry, guys. Most people will just be watching the YouTube upload, hopefully. They will.
Yeah, exactly. But halfway through the level, I changed up the entire level. The original idea, I was going to use the full song, and I had this idea where instead of having like just the one dude, Jack, just kind of like killing people, it was more like he would just be there, and then you would mainly have the asylum patients, all the dudes with the X's for eyes, and this other model that I modeled it, but I didn't end up using it. It was like a decapitated version of the asylum patient, like a little robot drone attached to its head. Kind of like a mind control drone or whatever. They were supposed to be like the asylum like wardens, and basically the level would be them fighting, so it would just be like lots of characters animated on screen all at once.
That sounds like a pain.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. And I had this idea where the first half would be all the dudes fighting each other or whatever, and you would have Jack in there just, I don't know, killing people, whatever he does. You go up like an elevator or whatever. Second half, you would fight the person who owns the asylum that everything's taking place in. Well, I mean, it's a good thing I didn't end up adding it in, because it would have been an absolute nightmare, just because I had a ton of like spider legs attached to it and stuff, and joint parents, and it was just a massive model. Like, it would have been a pain to fight because the player's so small. It's unfinished and it's scaled down, but it's kind of inspired off of like a mantis and a centipede or whatever. I was going to detail the arms more, and then I was going to have like a ton of little like laser guns and stuff attached, and the idea was it just hangs from the ceiling and attacks you in general while you're supposed to be below and in the middle. But I ended up just scrapping it.
Because it wouldn't have worked out that well.
Yeah, well, actually, I just wanted to finish the level.
Fair enough.
I knew if I started working on it with this thing, I would have never finished it. And at the time, I wasn't really experienced enough to be able to animate models like this.
I mean, hey, the level still came out and it's pretty good. You got it.
Yeah, it got finished, so...
As long as it's better than your first.
Exactly. As long as there's at least, like, some form of improvement somewhere, then good, that's great.
Yeah.
Just ignore the fact that it crashes if you're playing on dev branch, and it's fine.
Yeah, dev branch issue, I don't know. Here's a fun question. What do you define as a good and bad level? You don't have to give specific examples for the bad level section unless you want to just use your own.
That's an interesting question, because for me, I just like to make the things that I think are cool. So I would just say like a good level is something that I think is cool. But I know that's incredibly subjective, because what I see as a good level does not have good gameplay. Once we get into the visuals versus gameplay argument, that's an easy rabbit.
Ooh, that's a fun.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
This YouTuber started up like a whole like side channel that's just about like having debates over stuff online. I can't wait to see the gameplay versus visual debate.
The hour-and-a-half long video of text dumps that is just the reasoning behind it.
Oh, what would be the perfect music to overlay with that? I was originally gonna say like some song for the versus Tricky mod or something like that, but...
You just gotta take the most used song in a PA level, which is probably, I don't know which song that would be, probably a Temenite song. Just use that.
And no, not Temenite, Peer Get, obviously.
Peer Get, yeah.
Peer Get, me.
Perfect.
Overlay the entire argument with Peer Get.
Yeah. So, level quality. What I consider a good level, without too much of my own personal bias, I guess, of like, oh, the pretty animation looks cool or whatever, is if it's fun to play, I'd say it's like a good level. Which, of course, I mean, that's kind of a generic answer, but like, I've played levels where the gameplay is very unfair and difficult, but I still found it really fun to play anyways.
Do you have any advice for anyone looking to either get into it or like art in general? Any obscure tips?
I know there's a few. Okay, so first, in the editor, don't stack objects on top of each other. This is like, okay, so you know you got the timeline, right? Yeah. And when you collapse an object, you got that square. Don't layer the squares over top of each other in the timeline, just because if you prefab it or copy that model, the way they're layered might like mess up. So if you need to access one of those objects,
it's gonna get hit.
And also, as far as I'm aware, it's a little less laggy if you give each object more time to spawn in / load in or whatever. At some point, I want to make a video on like rigging and modeling and for PA bosses and stuff like that. Go more in depth into it in the future whenever that happens. But Just don't stack objects. Don't do it. It's ugly, and it makes it laggier. It's better to organize it while working on it instead of having to go back and organize it or just deal with it being an absolute mess.
Literally yesterday, I had to reorganize an entire boss because I was redesigning it. I had to manually unstack everything, sort everything into individual chunks, and then I could actually start working on it.
Yeah, it's painful. Oh, and with boss levels specifically, well, just levels in general. We'll just say boss levels in this case. I don't know. Decoration objects. If you're gonna make like a large boss model or a boss model that you want to move around a lot, always use decoration objects for the entire model, and then add a normal object that's layered underneath everything as a hitbox later. The boss moves around really quickly and a lot, but it's made out of normal objects. And there's no helpers for its, well, there's some helpers for its motion, but for the most part, the helpers for it moving around aren't very reliable. So you have this box of normal objects flying around the screen. It looks cool, but it's just a pain to deal with. So if you're gonna have like a boss animation, always make the boss model out of decoration objects and then add the normal objects layered underneath afterwards.
At the same time, I'm also starting to get confused nowadays as to whether or not the boss is made of decoration objects or not, because obviously there's not going to be any indication for it. So I'm stuck off to the side of the screen watching the boss do all these funky animations, and it's just like, am I supposed to be like standing on top of them or not? It's like
you don't really know. Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
The built-in instinct from JSAB is to simply not touch anything that isn't the same color as the background.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to
add? Linear is a valid easing. Anyone who's hating on linear, don't do that. Linear's got its uses. I see you, Derpy. Stop hating on linear. It's valuable. There is uses, I'm telling you.
Is he making an official call-out post on Twitter.com?
This is my official call-out post on Twitter.com. If you don't, you'll find me in your closet. I will make you appreciate linear. For legal reasons, this is a joke, but you should appreciate linear.
I understand your concern, but also, this isn't really a, political channel, so I'm gonna have to edit that part out and replace it with a segment of you actually praising linear, because we're not allowed to with you actually discrediting linear.